Hey guys, Phazon343 here, and I'm here to talk to you guys about my first impressions for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Yes, the game has finally been released. It's finally out into the world. We've waited, I've waited almost like 18 years for a sequel to Prime 3, but for most people, since Prime 4 was announced back in 2017, we've had to wait 8 years for that. Since that moment of the initial teaser to now, and it's finally out. I've got some thoughts and opinions I have on the game. I just want to kind of talk to you guys as early as I can about the game and its quality and everything, and kind of set the record straight a little bit in certain ways, because there's a lot of negativity from a lot of people about this game that I think is like really unwarranted in a lot of different aspects. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, let's just start talking about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Still can't believe it's here. All right, so right off the bat, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Does it live up to the Metroid Prime name? Yes, so far I would say yes. I should specify where I'm at right now in the game. I'm at the Icebelt area, which is kind of like I would say the third major area of the game that you explore. Third or fourth, depending on if you count Soul Valley as an area, as a core area, I suppose. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't finished it. I haven't gotten to the boss fight. I think I'm a little bit past the halfway point in that section. But yeah, just for anybody that's played the game already and that's already past that point, that's where I'm at. I'm in the Icebelt area. So you should know that going forward, for the rest of this video, like that's where I'm at in the game. It's possible the game really tanks off after this point. It's possible it gets better. It's possible it stays the same. Obviously, I won't know until I finish the game, but that's where I'm at, just so you guys know. And the first aspect of the game I want to talk about is the presentation in this game. Because I will say, regardless of whatever you hear online, regardless of whatever I have to say later on in this video, when it comes to the presentation of Metroid Prime 4, they not only do they match what came before in terms of the visuals, the graphics, the music, the vibes, but they surpass it in almost every single way. Again, when we're talking about the presentation of the game, visually, this game is incredible, and I can't believe this thing is running on Switch 2. That's where I'm playing Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It's on the Switch 2. I'm playing the Switch 2 version of it, and even as a Switch 2 game, this game is incredible. The art team cooked with this fucking game. Like, let me tell you that right now. So many, like, the visual style of like the Lemorne race is just incredible, man. It's so cool. It's so unique. It's very, very different from, say, like the Luminoth like aesthetic or like the architecture from Metroid Prime 2. It's very, very different from that regard, but it hits me in a very similar way. I'll say that when it comes to like the visuals of this game and in particular the architecture of the Lemorne race. Super cool. But even that aside, talking about like the biomes and stuff, like, Fury Green is one of the earliest areas in the game. That area is beautiful. Like, it's amazing. Just all the little like beetles, like the insects and stuff you can see running around on the map. It's just wild. All the birds, the insects you can see flying around up above you. Seeing all the jungles, all the trees mix and match and like all weave together. It's in that regard, and when it comes to the presentation of this game, it matches and surpasses a lot of what came before. It's so good. And the music itself is amazing too. The music is amazing. I think, Metroid Prime 3 has some real bangers in it. Has some of the best songs ever made for any video game ever is in the Prime 3 soundtrack. But for every one amazing song that's in that game, there's like 2 or 3 just like, kind of generic sounding songs. That is not the case for Prime 4. There is some ambient tracks for sure in this game, but almost every major music piece is a certified Prime banger. And I haven't beaten the game, but I have seen some of the credits for it online. And apparently Kenji Yamamoto came out of retirement, I guess, to actually compose the music for this game. I guess he's been a music supervisor at Nintendo for the past 10 years or something, but he hasn't actually made made music for a game in a long while, I guess. That's what I heard anyway. That's what I was seeing online. People say online. If that's the case, then man, I wish this guy would stay out of retirement permanently, because the music in this game is incredible and surpasses a lot of what came before. So far, I wouldn't say it's better than like the Prime 1 soundtrack, but that's my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. I really don't think Prime 4 was gonna, you know, beat that, so to speak. I think that's kind of like unreasonable to think, but it is right up there though, man. It's great. It's so good. So, yeah, when it comes to the presentation of Metroid Prime 4, the visuals, the graphics, the music, and when you're alone in the game, the vibes, it matches what came before. So if you're worried about any of that stuff, fear not, because it's some of the best stuff in the series so far in that regard. All right, so with all that being said for the presentation, let's talk about the actual gameplay. So it's typical. It is more or less, or for better and for worse, I should say. That's a better way to put it. This is more just Metroid Prime goodness, right? You're going around these alien environments. You're collecting power-ups. You unlock these power-ups, and then you can traverse the new areas as well as backtrack into other areas and unlock missile expansions. There's ammo shot expansions in this game, which it's kind of like a weird mix mash between the Prime 2 ammo system and like missiles, like having separate missile types. It's what the shots are in this game. So there's like the flame shot. That's one that I have right now, and it's basically more or less like a plasma beam shot from Prime 1, but for the missiles is kind of what it is. And I think well, for sure, from what I've scanned so far, I'm gonna get like an electric one of that pretty soon. And I think there might be like an ice one later on, but I don't know that quite yet. So, when it comes to this game, right? You're doing the same typical type of Metroid Prime stuff. Like I said, you're going around collecting power-ups, you're doing all that, unlocking new areas as well as unlocking new parts of other areas. That is great. And I mean that matches what came before. As far as that goes. It is typical Metroid Prime goodness, right? But one thing people were worried about. There were two things that people were worried about in regards to Metroid Prime 4. Two major things anyway, right? Let's talk about the first one. The first one is the NPCs. And again, I don't even think I'm halfway through the game yet, but I've got to be getting close to the halfway point if I'm in the Ice Belt area. I've encountered 2 of the NPCs so far, and okay. I'm trying to think of like the way I want to structure this, the way I want to word this. For everybody that was like worried about NPCs being a problem in this game, at least so far, it was all blown way out of proportions, kind of like how I thought it was when people were blowing this up like way out of proportions. Like a month or 2 ago, when we were getting all these trailers and stuff with the NPCs. They are with Samus for so little in this game so far. It is a very, very minor part of the game. The NPCs being with you in this game. They are just kind of like background. They're like background characters, background noise, kind of, in like Miles's case. You're with them for that small section in Fury Green, which is the jungle area in this game at the very beginning. But very quickly you find a spot, he kind of sets up a base, and then you leave. And then you go explore other areas, and he's pretty much out of the story, where I'm at right now. Now, he will chime in on the radio sometimes, and that is a little annoying. I wish you could just turn that off. I wish you could just turn off from him like talking to you, because the couple of times he's popped up on the radio, he's just telling me like basic stuff. One, either that he already told me back at base camp right before I left him, or it's stuff that I already kind of know what to do. It's like, oh, I should probably go to this area because I have this ability, or this is the closest area to me where I'm at right now. I should probably just go there first. And then, you think that as a player, and then Miles just pops up on the radio and goes, hey, Samus, do you think, you should check out this area? It's like, well, thanks, Miles. Like, I kind of already put that together, but, again, I was saying this before I got my hands on the game, but I was like, do I want NPCs in my Metroid game? No, I don't. I wish they weren't here, but are they like a huge detrimental, like, negative talking point to this game? Well, I mean, talking point, yeah, it is, I guess, because so many people are like, whining about it, but does it actually bring down the game experience in a major way? I would say no. I don't think it is. At least so far where I'm at, it's not. So people that were worried about the NPCs, it's not that big of a deal. Like, they're in the background for most of it. They're not really, and even Miles, he doesn't really talk to you all the time on the radio, but it was right after I left the jungle and went out to the desert and was going to the Volt Forge area, it's where he kind of chimed in a little bit too much, and I wish you could just turn that off. But so yeah, is it a minor hiccup, minor inconvenience to the game? Yes, it is, but it's not like a huge, massive problem, I would say. So that's the first issue I wanted to address that people were gonna the major concern that people had with this game. The NPCs so far, not a big deal, and it was all of the hate and everything for him majorly overblown. So that's the first thing. And now the second issue I'd want to talk about is the bike. And for me, okay, look, I was willing to give the bike a chance. Before this, again, I didn't want to ride the hate train that so many people were before release. And before I get into my problems with the bike, I will say, like, actually driving it, controlling it, running around the world with it, that's fine. It's kind of fun to drive around this vehicle. It's not like a horribly controlled thing, horribly controlled vehicle, in this game. And it's kind of crazy. This is like the first vehicle that we have the player has like controlled in a Metroid game before. And they nailed like the actual like driving mechanics of it. It's fun to drive, But my problem with it, with the motorcycle specifically, the Viola, it's not the vehicle itself, it's the area where you primarily use it, and that is Soul Valley. And so far, that is, to me, this game's biggest issue is Soul Valley. We were all kind of worried about this. I didn't want to ride the hate train. I wanted to wait until I got my hands on the game. And where I'm at right now, I've only explored like very, very little of it. And so much of it is like kind of blocked off for me because I don't have enough upgrades to unlock a lot of the environments and stuff that's in the desert. But it is, by and large, it's just a kind of generic, boring desert area, separating all of the interesting, cool environments from one another. And having to drive through the desert so many times, it really should have been cut from this game. I really don't think the desert area has a place here. If there were tracks or something, like a road, connecting other areas together, like just a short, fun vehicle section that gets you from one area to another, I think that could have worked out like really, really well. And maybe you put like a couple of like hidden expansions or stuff, like little things for Samus to do to explore. You know what I mean? But by and large, having like a straight like a road taking you from one area to the next, and having different areas connect to other areas, like having one of the last levels in the game connect to one of the beginning levels of the game, via like a road or something for Samus to drive the Viola on. That could have worked out. I could have seen that working out really well. Again, as long as they were like kind of short sections. I think I would have liked that more than what we actually got, which is in this desert area. There is very little for you to do. There are some pockets, some wreckage sites for Samus to explore, but they are few and far between, and there is not enough of them. And the desert area is pretty damn large in general. So it feels like filler. Like the desert area feels like filler, even though riding around on the motorcycle itself is fun. It's cool. It feels like filler. So far to me, that is the weakest part of the game. But again, maybe it improves later on. I don't know. So, but that's the other major concern that people had with this game before launch. And unfortunately, again, so far, that is my biggest issue with this game, is the desert section. It just feels like filler, man. It feels like, I saw, or somebody else said this. They said it feels like a Xbox 360 game that like shoehorned in like an open world section into it. And that is exactly what it feels like here in Prime 4. It feels like someone just shoved this desert area into the game without much regard for how it's going to affect the other areas, like the other, Metroid Prime areas that you typically explore. And yeah, it just feels like, it just does not feel, it feels like a hindrance. It feels like filler. I don't know a better way to say it. So that is unfortunately my worst, or my least favorite part of the game so far. But that being said, right? One other thing before I start talking about some of the other good stuff that I like about this game. The most, for as jarring as the desert is, the most jarring tonal whiplash moment I had in this entire game, that I've had arguably probably in this entire series, even more than Other M, though it's not nearly as bad as what happened in Metroid Other M. Um, not too long after you get the Viola, right? You get the suit, and then you get the motorcycle. Excuse me. Um, you drive to another part of Volt Forge, which that's where you get the bike from. And then you go on this elevator, and you have to like perform like a maintenance test on the bike, which basically what that boils down to is you take this elevator down to a lower part of Volt Forge, and I am not kidding you. You are on, and I guess like slight spoilers, I guess, even though this isn't really a major part of the game, and hopefully this doesn't pop back up again later. You were basically on like kind of like an F-Zero racetrack, going around this racetrack, killing enemies primarily, doing like these like small objectives, for Samus to like test the motors. It's basically like a tutorial for the bike, basically. But I'm gonna let you know this right now. This is probably gonna be the worst part of the game to replay. Again, unless there's something that happens later that's even worse than this. That is by far going to be the worst part of the game to replay, because you have 3 separate like racetracks you have to go down into and like perform these objectives to get them done. And like I really hope there's a way to skip that later on, but knowing Nintendo, I really doubt it. It's just so jarring to go from this very cool Volt Forge area, one of the coolest areas in the game so far. You go down, and then it's just like an F-Zero track, man. It's just really weird and bizarre. I don't know why that was included in here. For as lame as like, for as generic, kind of mediocre as the desert area is, I would say, it doesn't feel like as big of a tonal whiplash as that moment when you went down into the Volt Forge with the bike, into the F-Zero-esque racetrack. Like that was like, what the hell, man? Like, what is going on? I even said that on stream when I was streaming this. I was like, what are we doing here? But but so anyway, those are my general first impressions with the bike. It's fun to control, it's fun to drive around on. There is some fun exploration out in the desert area, out in Soul Valley, but it's very minimal and very few and far between. And so far that part of the game feels like filler. It feels like filler, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the bike concerns, or the bike concerns I wanted to address. Yeah, it is kind of or specifically the desert is like kind of the weakest section of the game so far. So that was the other major criticism or major complaint people were having with Prime 4, both before release and after release. So that was the second major thing I wanted to talk about. Now, going back to talking about like the general Metroid Prime gameplay that you do in this game, right? I don't have much to say because it is more or less what came before, especially in regards to Metroid Prime 3. This game is very structurally very similar to Metroid Prime 3 and not Metroid Prime 1 or 2, unfortunately. That's also like one of my biggest disappointments with the game is all of the major areas, right? So I'm gonna say the names of a couple of the areas. These are all early areas though, right? So you have Fury Green, which is the jungle area that we saw in the trailers. There was the Volt Forge, which is one of the theming wise, aesthetic wise, one of the coolest areas in any Prime game, like period. So you have that area, which again we've seen those in the trailers too, and then you have the area that I'm in right now, the Ice Belt. Visually, these are all 10 out of 10 areas. They look incredible. The art style, again, the art team was cooking with this game. I swear, like it is jaw-dropping how amazing these environments look. My biggest problem though with Prime 4, I mean besides the Desert Valley, which is the game's biggest problem, all of these areas, as incredible as they are, it is not the Prime 1 and Prime 2 layout where you have like these areas that crisscross one another. Like you think it like in like the Chozo Ruins, right? In Prime 1, if you look at the map on that game, a lot of the areas have connecting points. There's little pathways that you can take to get from one part of the map to the other, and there's a lot of crisscrossing on the map. Same thing with Fendrana Drifts. Actually, Fendrana Drifts is probably the better comparison to make because that area has tons of crisscrossing paths to it. So, and those are generally speaking tend to be my favorite areas in the Metroid Prime games, right? these large open areas with crisscrossing paths that allow for shortcuts and stuff like that. That is not Prime 4. Prime 4 is very, very linear, and it's like you go into an area and you start where you entered the area from, and you just go to the very end where you fight the boss fight. And there is very, very little um, crisscrossing on the map. It's almost like go from hallway 1, go to the final boss fight, and it is very, very like railroaded. Um, you know what this game actually reminds me of structurally a lot is Metroid Fusion. This game actually has a lot when it comes to its structure. It's very, very similar to Metroid Fusion. Now, it's not quite as linear as Fusion because in Prime 4 you can routinely go back to other areas and explore and unlock new stuff all the time. So it's not quite as railroaded as that game or as Metroid Other M. It's not nearly as railroaded as Other M, you know. But it is a little disappointing where you go into an area and it's so cool. You know, some of the puzzles, that's the other disappointment. The puzzles are good in this game, but they're not great. They don't reach the heights so far of the past Prime games. But again, I'm early on. Maybe it gets crazy later in the second half. But the puzzles so far are just kind of like, they're good. They're good. You go into an area and it's like, you know, you go from the starting area to the final boss fight. Or not the final boss fight, but the boss fight of that area, you know? And there is very, very little exploration for you to do. Again, the puzzles kind of up it up a little bit, like because you'll go explore a room that kind of looks like it's hiding something. You find out you figure something out. You scan something. It's like, oh hey, you need to burn this. So you're like, oh, I can use my my plasma shot, or hey, you need like an electrical based weapon to make progress here. It's like, oh okay, I'm gonna get that later, and then I'll just come back here. So. This game has the standard Metroid backtracking to it, but it's just a shame that the areas are so closed off from one another. They're not connected to each other, and within the levels themselves, they are not connected to large chunks to one another. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to describe. Again, going back to like Fendrana Drifts, in that level, the map has so many points where the map crisscrosses. You can take shortcuts from one side to the other one. There's cool moments in between the big areas, Prime 4, it's each area is kind of like a linear hallway, unfortunately. It's not as bad. Again, it's not as bad as something like Other M or Fusion, but or as linear as those games. But that's my other kind of biggest disappointment with the game is the level design. When you're actually, you're playing the game, you're exploring the area, you're going in it, it's a very good linear Metroid Prime game, a very, very good linear Metroid Prime game. But that's not, what I would want from my Metroid Prime game, Like, I want Metroid Prime 1 and 2, but more so 1, honestly, where, all of the levels are connected, connected together. There's elevators that you can take from one side, from, one elevator from Chozo to Phazon Mines, the Chozo Ruins to Phazon Mines. This game does not have that, or at least it doesn't have that so far. You can't go from Fury Green to Volt Forge by taking an elevator or something. At least it doesn't seem like you can. You have to go back through the desert each and every time. And that's, that goes back into my complaints about the desert. It feels like filler, like you're killing time, like you're padding out the runtime by making me drive through this open desert section to get to an area. While it is beautiful, it's fun to run around in, it's fun to explore, but it's very, very, very linear. There's, it's not as explorative, I guess, if that's even a word, as Prime 1 and Prime 2, unfortunately, But again, that's why I said earlier in this video, like, it's the structure of this game is very, very, very similar to Prime 3. It's almost like a combo between Prime 3 and Fusion, Metroid Fusion. So, but that's the level design. When you're running around these levels, you're doing, you're in the Metroid Prime groove. No one's talking to you on the radio. It matches what came before in regards to the Metroid Prime trilogy. It's great. Like, it's fun. It's fun. The areas, the Lemoran lore and everything is so cool and so interesting. The vibes, the art style, like, it's crazy. It's like this game takes 2 steps forward, but then it takes like a half step back or something, when it comes to like the level design and like, the Soul Valley implementation of it. But again, these are just my early thoughts with the game. As soon as I get done recording this, I'm gonna play more of it right after this. So, we'll see what my thoughts are in the game, as it continues. But, you know, that that I just wanted to like talk about, bring up like the level structure and everything. So it's very closer to like Prime 3 and Fusion. It's not as close as what I would want it to be to like Prime 1 and Prime 2. Areas are very, very linear. You go from one side of the area to the other one, and there's very, very little like expansiveness to it. Or so far anyway, that's the way it seems. So yeah, guys, that's kind of my general quick thoughts so far on the game. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really for me to talk about. I mean, I kind of got most of the big stuff out of the way. And again, I'm like maybe 40% of the way through the game right now as I'm recording this. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously I'm gonna have a lot more to say once I beat the game. As soon as I beat the game, I'm gonna restart the game and go through on hard mode. There's this game has so many. Again, the presentation, the lore of everything, 10 out of 10. This game is amazing. Like visuals, graphics, music, vibes. I'm so interested in the Lemorn as a species. I want to see what's going to happen with them. The story, like the couple of NPCs that I met, they're not horrible. They don't bring the game down. And, again, I wish they weren't there, but hot take, I guess. But I like Miles. He's okay as a character. I think it's Tubaki is the latest guy that I met in the Icebelt area. He seems cool. He seems like a cool dude. Again, I don't know a whole lot about them, but they seem like cool individuals. So in that regard, I'm kind of getting like the bounty hunters from Prime 3 vibes from these guys, because I have a feeling that I don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling it's like these guys are really, really cool on the surface. And their designs, they have like cool armor and everything, but it's like I wonder how much of we're actually going to see of their personality, because that was Prime 3's biggest problem with the hunters, is that they were kind of like underutilized throughout the story, right? They're there in the first mission and then they just get corrupted, for the rest of the game. And I want to see what they're going to do with the characters in this game. And again, the characters that I've stumbled across so far, I like them. They're cool. They're all right. So I want to see where the story goes. So yeah, guys, that's kind of my quick thoughts, my quick general thoughts on Metroid Prime 4. I'm a little disappointed in the Soul Valley in the desert area. The structure of the level design of the game, I'm a little disappointed by, but at the same time, if you look at this game as its own little thing, like as its own game, as a little bit a more linear version of Prime 3, I would say, or about the same level of linearity as Prime 3. It's great. It is great in that regard. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I can't wait to explore more. I want to get more power-ups. I want to do that typical Metroid thing. And again, like this game's biggest accomplishment in the way that it does equal and surpass the old games that came before in a lot of ways is the visuals. It is the graphics. It is the art style. It is just the Metroid vibes that you get when you're alone exploring these environments. That lives up to Metroid Prime 1 and 2, I would say. So that is my biggest what do I want to say? That's my biggest like positives that I can give to the game so far. And one other thing I guess I can bring up too, actually, when I'm talking about the gameplay real quick, is the when it comes to like the actual combat of the game, I'm liking that a lot too, man. Dude, the bosses in this game, the couple of bosses that I've fought so far, even with enemies, and okay, attacks in this game are super easy to dodge. Like it's pretty easy to dodge enemies' attacks and stuff like that. But if you manage to get hit at certain moments in this game, you get hit with a ton of damage. And I'm obviously playing on normal right now, but it is like some enemies, if you stand in an enemy's like attack range and they hit you, I mean, they can do like 50, 60 damage with one hit. It's crazy, but I love that. I love how this game actually has a little bit more of a challenge to it. And bosses also have a ton of health. And like, normally that could get really annoying. You could be like, oh, this boss feels so bullet spongy. But combine that with how heavy some of the bosses actually hit with their attacks. I'm not really a Dark Souls fan. I don't want to make that comparison, I guess, but I would imagine it's kind of the same thing with like a Dark Souls boss, right? Because from those games, it always seems like, the bosses have a ton of health, They do a ton of damage if they hit you, and it takes you a little while to actually like kill them. You have to do a ton of damage to them, but it feels like very, very rewarding. That's what it feels like in this game with the bosses specifically, and even some of the enemies too. But with the bosses specifically, I'm getting like very, very similar vibes to it as well. So that's another like amazing positive I wanted to give to this game too. It's like the actual like combat. The combat is like up there as one of the best in the series, in my opinion. Combat is really, really, really fun. So that was the other thing I wanted to bring up when it comes to like the general gameplay and stuff too. So yeah, guys, I think that's gonna be it for me. Obviously, I'm gonna have a lot more to say about this game in the future. I still have to beat it. Obviously, I need to get through everything, analyze, more of my thoughts, go through the game again too. I want to play through the game for a second time, and yeah. But I can't wait to keep talking about this game. It's very, very, very fascinating. Everything that is happening with Prime 4 right now, like out on the internet and everything. Like, I guess I didn't end up touching up on it too much here, but like this game had it rough from the beginning, even before its release, with so many people just hate bandwagoning on it. And like again, some of that stuff ended up being true, like the Soul Valley, the desert area. Yeah, it's the weakest part of the game for sure. But like but man, the amount of hate that this game got just felt completely unwarranted to me. It felt like people were giving this game way too much shit for some of the new additions and stuff that it adds and stuff, like not even the bike, but like the psychic powers. Like, I haven't come across anything too crazy with them, but I am liking the psychic powers that you get in this game. I mean, they're pretty cool. A lot of them are kind of like retooled, reskinned versions of like old power-ups too. But I mean, some of the new additions and stuff that they changed to them are actually like pretty cool, like pretty like I don't know, like innovative, I guess might be the good word for it. But yeah, guys, so I don't know. I think a lot of the hate for this game is unwarranted. The people that gave this game like a 6 out of 10, man, I don't know what game they were playing, but this game is not that low. This is not a 5 or 6 out of 10 game. Like I've seen some people claim that this game is not even close. So like people that were rating the game that low, it's like, I don't know, man. Are we even playing the same game or whatever? But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for me. Leave your comments down below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about the game. Like for people that have actually played the game. I don't care if you haven't played the game. I really don't care what your thoughts are on it, if I'm being honest. But if you have played the game, leave your comments down below and let me know what you guys think about it. So yeah, guys. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I'm gonna go play more Metroid Prime 4. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.